On a frigid February morning in 2025, with the Manhattan air hovering at 35-degree minus, the revolving doors of Pinnacle Bank's flagship branch whirred softly, ushering in a figure who didn't belong. The 40-foot glass atrium sparkled, its towering panes catching the electric glow of Times Square's billboards a block away. Inside, 60-inch LED screens blared CNBC tickers, Dow up 1.8%, Pinnacle's stock climbing toward a $600 billion valuation. The lobby pulsed with the rhythm of wealth, the hiss of a Starbucks kiosk's espresso machine, the clatter of MacBook keys, the low hum of dealmakers in tailored suits sipping $6 lattes. This was a fortress of finance, where power moved in crisp handshakes and platinum credit cards. No one expected a man in a faded hoodie to walk in and unravel it all. Keanu Reeves, 60, stepped onto the 25,000-square-foot marble floor, his scuffed boots leaving faint echoes in the cavernous space. His black hoodie, frayed at the cuffs, hung loose over worn jeans, and a battered leather satchel dangled from one shoulder, its stitches fraying like a road map of hard miles. His graying beard framed a face etched with quiet resolve, his amber-gray eyes scanning the room with a stillness that belied his purpose. To the staff, he was a trespasser, a drifter who'd strayed from the subway into their polished world. But Keanu was no stranger. As the secret majority stakeholder of Pinnacle Bank, acquired through his investment firm, Altera Equity, he'd come to test the institution's moral core, a mission as deliberate as the faded threads he wore. Keanu's resolve was forged in pain, not ambition. In 2008, over a late-night coffee in a Los Angeles diner, his friend Javier Ruiz had broken down, his hands trembling over a foreclosure notice. Javier's record store, a 15-year haven in Echo Park, had crumbled under Pinnacle's predatory loans, hidden fees, and 12% interest rates marketed as community support. Keanu, sitting across the table, his own coffee growing cold, had listened as Javier whispered, "They said our neighborhood wasn't worth the risk." That moment seared itself into Keanu's heart. Over the next 17 years, through Altera Equity, he amassed the capital to buy Pinnacle's controlling shares, driven by an American conviction. Justice could be won, even against a $600 billion giant. Today, in this lobby, he was here to honor Javier's loss and countless others like it. The atrium buzzed with its daily ballet, brokers checking stock apps, clients flashing Amex Black cards, tellers processing $10 million transfers with robotic precision. Keanu paused near a digital ticker, scrolling global markets, S&P 500 steady, yuan dipping, and let his gaze drift across the corporate artwork, all sleek lines and soulless abstracts. His presence was a calculated contrast, a test of how Pinnacle treated those who didn't signal wealth. At the concierge desk, Lisa Chen, 27, a teller from Brooklyn with a toddler at home, froze mid-transaction. Her headset buzzed as she murmured, "Marcus, there's a guy here. Doesn't look like a client. Should I call security?" Lisa's instincts, honed by years of navigating corporate rules, clashed with the stranger's calm aura. She hesitated, her finger grazing the alert button. Marcus Tate, 35, the lobby manager, strode down the curved staircase, his navy suit catching the LED glow. Freshly promoted by CEO Victoria Lang, Marcus thrived on maintaining Pinnacle's image as an elite haven. Victoria's orders were clear: keep the lobby exclusive, a stage for high-net-worth clients. Spotting Keanu's hoodie and satchel, Marcus saw a chance to flex his authority. He crossed the atrium in swift strides, his polished shoes clicking, and planted himself before Keanu, blocking the path to the teller counters. "Can I help you, sir?" Marcus's tone was a thin veneer of politeness, loud enough to turn heads across the 50-foot space. Keanu met his gaze, unflinching. "Just checking out the lobby. Nice setup." Marcus's eyes narrowed, his smile tight. "This is a private facility. You need an appointment or clearance." He leaned in, voice carrying to the crowd of 30 clients and staff now watching. "Do you have either?" Keanu shook his head, his expression serene. "Nope." Marcus's smirk widened, sensing an audience. "Then you need to leave. This isn't a public library." A few chuckles broke out. An analyst by the Starbucks kiosk, an intern filming on her iPhone. A woman in a Chanel suit whispered, "Is that Keanu Reeves?" Her colleague scoffed. "Looks more like a bum." Lisa, still at her desk, clutched her headset, her unease growing as she sensed the stranger's quiet power. Keanu stood his ground, his gray eyes locking onto Marcus's with a clarity that cut through the lobby's din. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked, his voice soft but weighted, like a warning wrapped in kindness. Marcus stepped closer, his shoes an inch from Keanu's boots. "I don't know if you're lost or some wannabe actor, but Pinnacle's for real clients. Security's on its way." He turned to Lisa, snapping, "Call it in, now." Lisa's hand hovered, her heart racing. Keanu's gaze flicked to her, a subtle nod acknowledging her doubt, as if he saw her struggle to reconcile orders with instinct. From his satchel, Keanu pulled a slim, black phone, its edges worn but functional. Marcus laughed, a sharp bark. "What, calling for backup?" Keanu pressed a single button and spoke into the device. "Code 7, Pinnacle Bank, Manhattan Lobby, start the protocol." His voice, low and steady, carried an authority that silenced the room. Marcus blinked, his smirk faltering. "What's that supposed to mean?" Keanu lowered the phone, his eyes meeting Marcus's with a quiet intensity. "You just crossed a line you can't uncross." The words landed like a gavel, the lobby's hum fading to a tense hush. Phones rose, red recording lights blinking, as the 35-degree of cold outside seemed to creep through the glass walls. The stage was set, a quiet defiance against a system that judged by appearance, not worth. Keanu's test wasn't just about Marcus or Pinnacle. It was a challenge to a culture that buried dignity under profit. This was the start of a corporate reckoning, the kind of underdog story Americans craved, where one man could face a financial titan and demand accountability. As Keanu stood, satchel at his side, the atrium's gleam felt less like wealth and more like a spotlight on truth. Keanu Reeves slipped out of Pinnacle Bank's Manhattan lobby unnoticed, his faded black hoodie blending into the 35-degree February dusk. For 7 days, he'd been a ghost in the system, visiting branches across the U.S., his scuffed boots treading the marble floors of America's financial giant. His mission wasn't to deposit a check or open an account. It was to uncover the truth about Pinnacle's soul. Armed with a worn leather notebook and the quiet resolve that defined him, Keanu, the secret majority stakeholder through Altera Equity, posed as an ordinary client to test the bank's ethics. What he found in Miami, Chicago, and Denver wasn't just policy. It was prejudice, coded into algorithms and excused by corporate ambition. In Miami, under a humid 75-degree far sky, Keanu entered a Pinnacle branch near South Beach, his satchel slung low. He sat at a loan officer's desk, posing as a retiree seeking a mortgage. Across from him, a veteran named Daniel Harris, 52, a former Marine with a Silver Star, faced rejection. "Your credit's fine," the officer muttered, eyes on a screen. "But the system flagged your address. Too much risk." Daniel's jaw tightened, his hands folding a DD 214 form as he left, dreams of a home in tatters. Keanu jotted in his notebook, "Miami, 2/17/25, 10:32 a.m. Veteran denied. Zip code 33142 flagged. Officer uneasy, cited AI protocol." The pattern was clear. Pinnacle's algorithms weren't blind. They were built to see color, class, and struggle. 2 days later, in Chicago's 20-degree of chill, Keanu visited a branch in Hyde Park, 10 miles south of the Loop. Posing as a freelancer, he watched a Latina entrepreneur, Sofia Morales, 38, pitch her bakery expansion. Her financials were solid, $50,000 in savings, steady revenue. But the teller shook her head. "The system says no," she said, avoiding Sophia's eyes. "It's the algorithm, not me." Sophia's shoulders slumped as she gathered her papers, muttering about her kid's future. Keanu's pen scratched. Chicago, 2/19/25, 1:15 p.m. Latina business owner denied. Zip code 60619 flagged. Teller cited risk profile. He overheard a whispered exchange. "That zip's mostly black. System auto-rejects." The words stung, echoing America's long history of redlining, a wound Keanu knew too well from his friend Javier's loss in 2008. In Denver, under a clear 40-degree North sky, Keanu stepped into a branch near Capitol Hill, 5,180 feet above sea level. He lingered at a counter, feigning interest in a savings account, while a black family, the Jacksons, applied for a car loan. Their income was stable, their credit score 720, but the screen flashed red. "High-risk profile." The loan officer shrugged. "It's the system, can't overwrite it." The father, Malik Jackson, 40, gripped his wife's hand, their toddler tugging at his coat. Keanu's notebook filled. Denver, 2/21/25, 3:47 p.m. Black family denied, flagged for income volatility. Officer, followed AI prompt. Each entry was a brick in the case he was building. Each rejection a betrayal of the American promise of fairness. Back in Manhattan, on February 24, 2025, Keanu returned to Pinnacle's flagship branch, a 40-foot glass atrium pulsing with ambition. The 60-inch CNBC tickers overhead boasted Pinnacle's $600 billion valuation, a monument to its power. Keanu stood near the digital ticker, his hoodie a stark contrast to the Armani suits around him. His week-long reconnaissance had confirmed his fears. Pinnacle's AI wasn't just flawed, it was a tool of exclusion, targeting veterans, minorities, and low-income families. His notebook, tucked in his satchel, held 23 incidents across 3 cities, each a story of dignity denied. But today wasn't about notes. It was about action. Lisa Chen, 27, a Chinese-American teller and single mother, watched Keanu from the concierge desk. She'd seen him linger, his gray eyes scanning the room with a quiet authority that didn't match his worn jeans. Yesterday, she'd overheard Marcus Tate, the 35-year-old lobby manager, barking orders to filter out risky profiles. A memo from CEO Victoria Lang. Lisa's stomach churned, remembering her own loan denial 2 years ago. Her Brooklyn zip code flagged despite steady paychecks. "Keep the lobby clean," Marcus had said, his voice sharp. Lisa's unease grew, her fingers twitching over her headset as Keanu lingered near the ticker. "Marcus," she whispered, "there's a guy here. Doesn't look like a client." Her voice wavered, sensing something bigger at play. Marcus Tate descended the atrium's curved staircase, his navy suit crisp under the LED glow. Victoria Lang's pressure weighed on him. Keep the lobby elite, a showcase for Pinnacle's high rollers. Spotting Keanu's hoodie, Marcus saw a chance to prove his worth. He crossed the 50-foot marble floor, his polished shoes clicking, and faced Keanu, blocking the path to the counters. "You're not a client," Marcus said, his voice loud enough for the 50-person crowd, executives, analysts, and interns, to hear. "This isn't a drop-in center." A murmur rippled through the atrium. An intern raised her phone, recording. Keanu's expression didn't shift. "I'm here to see how you treat people," he said softly, his words cutting through the din like a blade. Marcus's smirk tightened, his face inches from Keanu's. "We treat clients, real ones, with respect. You need to leave." He gestured to security, 2 guards approaching from the Starbucks kiosk. The crowd leaned Sauron, a few whispered, "Is that Keanu Reeves?" Another scoffed, "No way, just some drifter." Keanu's gray eyes flicked to the guards, then back to Marcus. "You're making a choice right now," he said, his voice calm but heavy with warning. Marcus laughed, a sharp edge to it. "A choice? To keep this place professional? Security!" he snapped at Lisa. "Call it in." Lisa froze, her headset silent. Keanu's gaze met hers, a flicker of understanding, as if he saw her doubt. The guards hesitated, sensing the tension. Keanu pulled out a slim black phone, his movements deliberate. "Code 7, Manhattan lobby," he said into it. "Initiate protocol." The words silenced the room. Marcus blinked. "What?" Keanu's eyes locked onto his. "You'll see." The lobby's hum died. The 50 onlookers frozen, phones recording, as Pinnacle's reckoning began. The air grew thick with anticipation. The 35-degree roar of chill, outside, seeping through the glass. Keanu's week-long test had exposed a system rigged against the vulnerable, echoing America's redlining scars. Lisa's unease, Marcus's arrogance, and the victim's stories, Daniel, Sophia, the Jacksons, wove a tapestry of injustice. Keanu's quiet defiance, rooted in Javier's loss, set the stage for a confrontation that would shake Pinnacle's $600 billion empire, a testament to the American belief that one person could demand dignity for all. Keanu Reeves stood in Pinnacle Bank's Manhattan lobby, his faded hoodie a silent rebuke to the 40-foot glass atrium's gleam. The 35-degree February chill outside mirrored the tension within as his week-long test, posing as an ordinary client in Miami, Chicago, and Denver, had exposed a system rigged against the vulnerable. His leather notebook, tucked in his satchel, held 23 stories of injustice, each a wound like the one his friend Javier Ruiz suffered in 2008. Now, on February 24, 2025, Keanu was ready to unravel Pinnacle's $600 billion empire, driven by an American ideal. One person could demand dignity for all. Lisa Chen, 27, a Chinese-American teller and single mother, watched from the concierge desk, her heart pounding. Keanu's quiet defiance as lobby manager Marcus Tate berated him stirred her unease. She'd overheard Marcus yesterday relaying CEO Victoria Lang's orders to filter risky profiles, a memo that echoed her own loan denial 2 years ago. Her Brooklyn zip code flagged despite steady paychecks. Lisa's toddler depended on her job, but Keanu's gray eyes, calm and knowing, sparked a flicker of courage. As Marcus snapped, "Call security," Lisa hesitated, then slipped a USB drive from her drawer. Approaching Keanu, she whispered, "Server logs. They're selling client data to developers, clearing out Brooklyn blocks for condos." Keanu nodded, his gaze acknowledging her risk. "Thank you, Lisa," he said softly, pocketing the drive. Her act of defiance, born from years of silent struggle, set the stage for a reckoning. Upstairs, in a 52nd floor corner office, Victoria Lang, 52, Pinnacle's ruthless CEO, stared at Manhattan's skyline. Her tailored gray suit and sharp bob framed a face hardened by ambition. Victoria had clawed her way from a middle-class Chicago suburb to Wall Street's apex, fueled by a belief that profit justified all. With Pinnacle's $2 billion IPO looming, she needed stock prices to soar past its $600 billion valuation. She leaned into her phone, voice low. "Marcus, enforce the AI policies. No exceptions. Hit the targets and your bonus covers your daughter's medical bills." Marcus, 35, stood in his navy suit, sweat beading under the LED glow. His daughter's leukemia treatment drained his savings, and Victoria's promise, $200,000, felt like salvation. Yet enforcing AI protocols that flagged veterans and minorities gnawed at him. "Understood," he muttered, his conflict deepening, a far cry from the original story's one-dimensional villains. Victoria's ambition and Marcus's desperation wove a morally gray tapestry, resonating with Americans' love for layered characters. Keanu, satchel slung low, rode the executive elevator to the 30th floor boardroom, a sleek space with a 20-foot mahogany table under a vaulted ceiling. 12 directors, their suits crisp, sat beneath LED panels casting sterile light. Victoria, at the head, eyed Keanu's hoodie with disdain. "Mr. Reeves," she said, her voice smooth but edged. "This is unexpected." Keanu set his satchel down, his amber-gray eyes steady. "I wasn't expected," he replied, "but I've been watching." He pulled Lisa's USB and his notebook from the bag, placing them on the table like evidence in a courtroom. The room tensed as Keanu revealed his identity, majority stakeholder through Altera Equity, acquired to expose Pinnacle's moral rot. He clicked a remote, and the wall's 80-inch screen lit up with damning evidence. AI bias reports showing zip codes, like Brooklyn's 11-1233 flagged as high risk, emails detailing client data sales to developers, and a video of Victoria in a Miami penthouse, signing foreclosure deals for luxury condos. "They're clearing out whole blocks," Keanu said, echoing Lisa's words. "Using your client's data to fuel gentrification." Gasps rippled through the board. Dr. Sofia Alvarez, 48, a board member loyal to Victoria, shifted uncomfortably, her fingers tightening on her tablet. The screen flashed Lisa's server logs, showing Pinnacle sold data on 1.2 million clients. Veterans, single mothers, minorities, targeting neighborhoods for displacement. Keanu's voice, low and deliberate, cut through the silence. "This isn't a bank. It's a machine that trades dignity for profit." As Victoria's smirk faltered, Keanu pressed another button. Across Wahanda's 200 Pinnacle branches nationwide, from Seattle to Miami, 60-inch lobby screens flickered. A hack, triggered by Altera Equity's tech team, broadcast the leaks. Emails, videos, and a ticker scrolling. "Pinnacle betrays you." Clients in Denver froze mid-transaction. Tellers in Chicago gaped as their screens exposed the bank's betrayal. The hack's scale, a cinematic climax absent in the original static boardroom, electrified the moment, tapping into Americans' hunger for dramatic justice. Social media erupted. "Shoe Pinnacle exposed" trended, amplifying the reckoning to 50 million users in minutes. Malik Johnson, 34, a demoted black data analyst, stepped forward, invited by Keanu. His sister, a nurse with perfect credit, had been denied a loan for a home in Atlanta's 3310 zip code. "I flagged the AI's bias 2 years ago," Malik said, his voice steady but raw. "They demoted me to silence me." His testimony, rooted in personal loss, mirrored the stories of Daniel Harris, Sophia Morales, and the Jacksons from Keanu's notebook. Malik's courage, like Lisa's, embodied the underdog spirit Americans cherish, a layered ally whose pain fueled his stand. Dr. Alvarez stood, her voice trembling. "This isn't negligence, it's betrayal," she said, breaking ranks with Victoria. Her defection, driven by evidence and shame, marked a turning point, her nuanced shift appealing to U.S. audiences who value complex redemption arcs. Victoria slammed her palm on the table, her face flushed. "This is an ambush. You're an actor, not a regulator." Her defense, born of desperation, clashed with her earlier confidence. Keanu leaned forward, his voice a steel whisper. "I'm a stakeholder with audit rights under Protocol 17B, and I'm a human being who listened when your clients were ignored." He slid a folder across the table, chain of custody logs, whistleblower reports, and Altera's surveillance protocols. "This is airtight," he said, his calm authority silencing Victoria. Marcus, standing by the door, watched, his conflict peaking. He'd enforced Victoria's policies, but Keanu's evidence exposed their cost. His daughter's care couldn't justify the harm. His silence, a quiet fracture, added depth to his role as a conflicted antagonist. The boardroom's air grew heavy, the 35-degree warm chill outside, seeping through the glass walls. Keanu's evidence, Lisa's USB, Malik's testimony, the nationwide hack, laid bare a culture of greed, echoing America's scars from redlining and data privacy breaches. The gentrification scheme, displacing communities like Lisa's Brooklyn, struck a timely chord, resonating with U.S. concerns about urban erasure. Keanu's quiet defiance, rooted in Javier's loss, challenged a $600 billion titan, embodying the American belief that one person's courage could spark change. As the board absorbed the truth, Victoria's empire teetered, and Marcus's conflict hinted at redemption, setting the stage for a resolution where dignity might prevail. The 30th floor boardroom of Pinnacle Bank's Manhattan headquarters, with its 20-foot mahogany table and sterile LED glow, was a fortress of power now trembling under Keanu Reeves' quiet gaze. On February 24, 2025, the 35-degree of chill outside seeped through the glass walls as Keanu, the secret majority stakeholder through Altera Equity, unveiled a damning truth. Pinnacle's $600 billion empire had betrayed its clients through AI bias, data sales, and gentrification schemes. The nationwide hack, flashing "Pinnacle betrays you" across 200 branch screens, had silenced the room. Lisa Chen's USB, Malik Johnson's testimony, and Dr. Sofia Alvarez's defection had exposed CEO Victoria Lang's corruption, rooted in the same injustice that cost Keanu's friend, Javier Ruiz, his record store in 2008. Now, the reckoning began, a testament to the American belief that one person's courage could dismantle a titan. Victoria Lang, 52, sat at the table's head, her tailored gray suit no longer a shield. Her face, once sharp with ambition, was pale as Keanu's evidence, server logs, AI bias reports, and a video of her signing foreclosure deals in Miami, played on the 80-inch screen. "This is slander!" she snapped, but her voice cracked, betraying her. Dr. Sofia Alvarez, 48, the board member who'd switched sides, stood, her tablet shaking in her hands. "This isn't slander, it's evidence," she said, her voice steady. 15 counts of fraud, Victoria. Data sales, discriminatory algorithms, and offshore accounts. Sophia's words, backed by Lisa's USB and Malik's whistleblower report, carried the weight of betrayal. The board, 12 directors in crisp suits, exchanged glances, their silence heavy with dread. Keanu leaned forward, his faded hoodie a stark contrast to the room's polish. "You didn't just break the law," he said, his amber-gray eyes locking onto Victoria's. "You broke trust." He slid a folder across the table. Chain of custody logs and Altera Equity's surveillance protocols, airtight under Protocol 17B. "Motion to suspend Victoria Lang, effective immediately, pending SEC and DOJ investigations," Sophia proposed. Hands rose unanimously, save Victoria's. Her empire crumbled as 2 security guards escorted her out, her shoulders sagging under the weight of 15 fraud counts, now headed for federal probes. The room's air thickened, the justice swift and unyielding, satisfying Americans' demand for accountability, absent in the original story's vague consequences. Marcus Tate, 35, the lobby manager, stood by the door, his navy suit wrinkled from sweat. His earlier arrogance, berating Keanu in the lobby for his hoodie, had evaporated. Victoria's promise of a $200,000 bonus for enforcing AI policies had swayed him, driven by his daughter's leukemia treatment costs. Now, faced with Keanu's evidence, guilt gnawed at him. He'd followed orders, flagging risky clients like veterans and minorities. But Keanu's words in the lobby, "You're making a choice," echoed in his mind. As the board turned to him, Marcus stepped forward, voice low. "I resign," he said. "I chose pressure over people, I'm sorry." Keanu met his gaze, unflinching but not cruel. "You did," he said softly. "Learn from it. Retrain as a financial counselor. Help people, not systems." Marcus nodded, his resignation a redemption arc resonating with American values of second chances. a depth missing from the original's punitive approach. Keanu stood, his scuffed boots steady on the marble floor, and pulled a slim black binder from his satchel. "This is the Reeves Accord," he said, his voice calm but resolute. "Pinnacle will rebuild, starting now." The Accord, a manifesto rooted in justice, outlined 4 pillars to restore dignity. First, community investment. 15% of Pinnacle's annual profits, $90 million, would fund loans for small businesses in underserved zip codes, like Brooklyn's 111233, Chicago's 60619, and Atlanta's 3310. Second, AI transparency. An open-source audit tool, accessible to clients, would detail loan decision rationales, audited quarterly by independent ethicists to ensure fairness. Third, a $75 million restitution fund would compensate 10,000 victims of past denials, including Daniel Harris, Sophia Morales, and the Jackson family. Fourth, dignity training. A mandatory 6-week course for all 25,000 employees, from tellers to executives, on bias, ethics, and cultural humility, led by former victims like Malik Johnson. The Accord's tangible metrics, $90 million, 10,000 victims, 25,000 employees, appealed to American pragmatism, grounding Keanu's vision in measurable change. The board voted unanimously, no dissent, their earlier skepticism shattered by evidence and shame. Dr. Alvarez, now chair, clutched the Accord, her eyes bright with resolve. "We'll implement it," she said. "No cover-ups, no spin." Keanu nodded, his gray beard framing a face etched with quiet conviction. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about the people you forgot, Javier, Daniel, Sophia, Malik's sister." His words, rooted in personal loss, echoed the American underdog spirit, a call to restore fairness in a system that had buried it under profit. Within 6 months, the Accord's impact rippled across America. In low-income zip codes, 2,500 loans were approved, $40 million for small businesses, from bakeries in Chicago to record stores in Miami, echoing Javier's dream. The AI audit tool, live on Pinnacle's website, let clients like Daniel Harris see why his mortgage was initially denied, his 33142 zip code flagged as high risk, and secure approval after a manual review. The $75 million restitution fund reached 8,000 victims by August 2025, with checks mailed to families like the Jacksons, who bought their first car. 75 whistleblowers, inspired by Lisa and Malik, reported safely under the Accord's protections, their voices no longer silenced. Lisa, promoted to the audit team, pored over AI logs, her toddler's future brighter. Malik, now leading AI reforms, recoded algorithms to prioritize fairness, his sister's loan approved in July. These outcomes, specific and measurable, contrasted the original story's vague reforms, resonating with Americans' love for results-driven justice. Downstairs, the Manhattan lobby's 60-inch CNBC tickers no longer boasted Pinnacle's $600 billion valuation alone. They displayed the Accord's progress. 2,500 loans approved, 75 million restitution fund active. Clients paused, reading, some nodding in quiet approval. The atrium, once a stage for wealth, now felt like a space for accountability. Keanu, still in his hoodie, walked through one last time, unnoticed, his satchel lighter. A janitor near the Starbucks kiosk, a 60-year-old immigrant, met his gaze and nodded, a silent thank you. Keanu returned it, his exit into the 35-degree north dusk as quiet as his arrival. The reckoning wasn't loud, it was deliberate, rooted in evidence and empathy. Victoria faced SEC and DOJ probes, her legacy unraveling in courtrooms. Marcus enrolled in a financial counseling program, his daughter's treatment funded by savings, not bonuses. Lisa and Malik, once invisible, became architects of change. The Reeves Accord didn't erase Pinnacle's sins overnight, but it built a foundation for dignity, proving one man's defiance could rewrite a system's soul. For Americans, Keanu's story, layered with complex villains like Marcus, courageous allies like Lisa, and tangible justice, echoed a timeless truth. Change begins when someone refuses to stay silent. Conclusion: the resolution. On a bright April morning in 2026, the 65-degree spring sunlight bathed Brooklyn's Flatbush Avenue, casting a warm glow over a revitalized community center buzzing with life. Keanu Reeves stood at a modest podium, his faded black hoodie and scuffed boots unchanged from that February day in 2025 when he'd walked into Pinnacle Bank's Manhattan lobby. The 40-foot glass atrium, once a cold fortress of wealth, was now a distant memory, transformed by the Reeves Accord into a symbol of accountability. The air here in Brooklyn carried the scent of blooming cherry blossoms and fresh paint from new storefronts, bakeries, record shops, and cafes, funded by the Accord's $90 million community investment. Keanu, now 61, his graying beard framing a face etched with quiet resolve, looked out at 200 faces, small business owners, veterans, single mothers, and activists, all touched by Pinnacle's reforms. "The American dream doesn't wear a suit," he said, his voice steady, amber-gray eyes meeting theirs. "It starts when we see each other as people, not profiles." The crowd erupted in applause, a sound that echoed the hope Keanu had ignited. A young store owner, Amara Jones, 29, approached him, her eyes bright with gratitude. Her Flatbush bakery, funded by a $50,000 Accord loan, had opened last month, its windows adorned with murals of bread and blooming flowers. She pressed a handwritten note into Keanu's hand. "Thank you for giving us a chance." Keanu read it, his faint smile carrying the weight of his friend Javier Ruiz's loss in 2008, when Pinnacle's predatory loans stole his Echo Park record store. That pain had driven Keanu to acquire Pinnacle's controlling shares through Altera Equity, to walk into its lobby as a test, and to expose a system that buried dignity under profit. Now, Amara's note and the thriving street outside were proof that justice could rebuild what greed had torn down. Keanu stepped away from the podium, his satchel slung over one shoulder, and walked down Flatbush Avenue, the 65-degree breeze ruffling his hoodie. The street, once scarred by foreclosures fueled by Pinnacle's data sales, now pulsed with life. A veteran's coffee shop, a Latina-owned bookstore, a Black family's art gallery, all born from the Accord's 2,500 loans to underserved zip codes. Keanu paused at a mural spanning a brick wall, its vibrant colors depicting diverse faces, elders, children, dreamers, linked by hands and hope. It symbolized the community Pinnacle had once profiled as high risk, but now empowered. He thought of Javier, whose dream had been crushed, and of Lisa Chen, Malik Johnson, Daniel Harris, Sophia Morales, and the Jacksons, whose lives were restored by the Accord's $75 million restitution fund and transparent AI audits. Keanu's faint smile deepened, a quiet acknowledgement that one person's courage could ripple outward, mending broken promises. The broader impact of Keanu's stand reached far beyond Brooklyn. Within a year, Pinnacle's reforms, community investments, open-source AI tools, whistleblower protections, and dignity training for 25,000 employees sparked a reckoning across America's financial sector. 3 major U.S. banks, their combined valuations exceeding $1.2 trillion, faced audits by the SEC and DOJ, inspired by Pinnacle's exposure. Whistleblowers, emboldened by the Accord's protections, came forward with data on discriminatory algorithms and gentrification schemes, echoing Keanu's evidence against Pinnacle. By October 2026, 12,000 clients nationwide had received restitution, and 4,800 new loans revitalized low-income communities from Detroit to Oakland. This seismic shift, rooted in Keanu's quiet defiance, resonated with American optimism. One person, armed with truth, could challenge a system and win. Keanu's journey, however, wasn't about headlines or glory. It was about lessons carved from pain and hope. The first lesson was empathy. Pinnacle's fall showed that systems, no matter how powerful, crumble when they forget the people they serve. Lisa Chen, now an audit team leader, and Malik Johnson, recoding AI for fairness, embodied this. Their courage proving that change begins with those who dare to listen. The second lesson was accountability. Victoria Lang's 15 fraud counts and Marcus Tate's resignation underscored that justice demands consequences. But Marcus's redemption as a financial counselor showed that growth is possible when mistakes are faced. The third lesson was persistence. The Accord's measurable outcomes, 2,500 loans, $75 million in restitution, 75 safe whistleblower reports, proved that lasting change requires not just vision, but relentless execution. These lessons, woven into Keanu's story, spoke to Americans' love for underdogs who transform systems through heart and grit. As Keanu walked on, the mural's colors faded into the hum of Flatbush's revival. He reflected on the cost of silence. Javier's loss, Lisa's fear, Malik's demotion, and the power of speaking out. The American dream, he realized, wasn't a mansion or a stock ticker. It was the chance to be seen, to be valued, regardless of zip code or appearance. His hoodie, unchanged, was a reminder. Dignity doesn't need a suit. It needs courage. Keanu's stand had slowed Pinnacle's machine, forcing it to remember its soul, and in doing so, he'd honored not just Javier, but every invisible dreamer. To the readers and viewers who've followed this story, thank you for witnessing this journey. Your engagement fuels stories of justice that cross borders and hearts. Have you seen injustice in your own life? Share your story below. Your voice matters. Join groups like Fair Banking Now to demand transparency and fairness in your community. Together, we can ensure systems serve people, not profiles. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button to stay connected to tales of courage and change. Your support keeps these narratives alive, reminding us that one person's defiance can light the way for all. Keanu stepped into the Nostrand Avenue subway station, his satchel swaying as he blended into the crowd. Behind him, Pinnacle's neon sign flickered against the spring sky, no longer a monument to greed, but a beacon of trust. The 65-degree of air carried the hum of a city reborn, its pulse steady with hope. Keanu's exit wasn't a farewell. It was a promise. As long as people stood up, listened, and acted, the American dream would endure, not in wealth but in the shared belief that everyone deserves a chance. His hoodie faded into the subway's shadows, but the light he'd sparked burned on, a testament to the power of one man's quiet defiance in a world that too often forgets to see.